There are so many tools to choose from as an artist, but it can be hard to pick the right ones. And I remember the first time when I took up drawing seriously, I didn't know where to begin my artistic journey, especially when I studied in the design academy. I remember the day I walked into an art supply store and I saw all of the choices. I was dumbfounded by the enormous variety of tools, markers, fine liners, pencils, and some of the tools that I didn't even know what to use for. Like, what is this?
Will I get better if I buy this?
But after a long journey, I found my path, so... In this video, we're going to be going through some of the most essential tools and techniques that I've learned throughout my years of experience going to the Design Academy, then studying architecture for 4 years and working on comic books, concept art, and murals to help you make the best choices for creating your desired projects. Now, let's talk about the tools. Pencils, ink pens, and markers. These are the 3 tools that I'll be showing you in this video and their special abilities. Also, this video is sponsored by FlexiSpot. More on that later in the video. So, we have our 3 of the most common types of pencils we can find in today's day and age. The traditional wooden pencil with a lead tip encased inside of it, a lead holder, and a mechanical pencil. All 3 of these have their own unique ways of drawing with and shading that I'm going to go through in this video to show you some of the examples. But for now, let's start off with the traditional wooden pencil. As a start, I would recommend you to get a standard pack of 5 pencils with varying lead softness. And by softness, I mean the softness of the lead tip itself that allows you to shade with darker tones and with less pressure applied on paper. And to demonstrate that, we have HB, 2B, 4B, 6B, and 8B gradually going from a light to darker shading tone. Now, this is one of the first important things that I've learned about different types of lead softnesses. And this might be very self-evident for those of you who know this already, but for those of you who don't, the important key thing is to understand why do you want to use the softer ones and darker tones. Well, let me demonstrate to you. See, you have for instance, a sketchy, drawn up version of what you want to draw in the end in the shape of some sort of an original character. And let's say you're drawing, and oops, you make a bit of a mistake here. Now, when you take an eraser and try and delete your mistake, oh my gosh, there's no trace amount of pencil left behind because I used an HB, or you could have even used an even lighter version of the lead softness. That's why you don't get any trace amount of pencil left on paper, as opposed to if I were to use, let's say 8B, let's say again, I'm sketching down some things and I made a mistake yet again, right? Now that I take the eraser and try to correct what I've just made, there's a substantial amount of pencil still left on this piece of paper, even though it's super smooth. And even if I try to re-erase it, as much as I try, it's still a mess. So that is why you would want to use a lighter pencil for your blueprint groundwork so that you can easily erase all of the mistakes that you might or may not make, and then move on to softer types of leads to build your shading, build your line work with more confidence and more darkness and graphic effect. So instead of just talking about it, let me show you how it's done with a more elaborate example. So in this example, I'll take the HB pencil first and draw the framework of my subject to get a clearer image of what I'm working with. And if needed, I can erase mistakes much easier at this stage. And I'm skipping over the drawing process because we are focusing on the proper use of the pencils and their shading techniques. So let's move on to a darker pencil such as 2B. You can lightly cover all the parts where the shadow is cast because we can adjust things much easier at this stage without going too dark and making it hard for us to erase things. You can even jot down the direction of your light source to help you gradually move up to darker pencils such as 4B and 6B and go deeper into covering the core shadows, and finishing off with 8B to cover such areas of the portrait where there's the least amount of light, like the nostrils or the ear canal and such. Now, this was drawn on a smooth piece of paper. You can tell by the shading how clean it is, but what happens if we use a rougher textured paper? Oh well. If you look closely, the shaded areas gain a different pattern compared to the smooth paper one. You can see the effect up close. The rough textured paper leaves the white valleys where the pencil hatching does not reach, as opposed to the smooth paper having no valleys whatsoever. That's something to keep in mind when starting a new piece and choosing the right paper. And one more thing I want to show you, instead of using all of these pencils, what happens if I draw the same subject using only one type of pencil? Well, take a look. Here we have an HB version that has turned out quite light and flat in terms of lighting compared to the one that's been done with 8B, with a darker and more dynamic shadow play. And that's that. Now, let me adjust my chair. Oh, I need a new chair. Oh! Flexi spot. After sitting for hours on end in this old dumpster on wheels, FlexiSpot has been kind enough to provide us with a brand new C7 ergonomic chair. Finally, I can draw for hours and have my back comforted by the adaptive lumbar support and an adjustable backrest that locks at 93 degrees. Also, I can slide the seat cushion to adjust my sitting depth to my needs. And after a long day of work, I can rest by reclining up to 128 degrees with an adaptable headrest. Adjust the armrest height and angle, and pop out the comfy footrest for my well-deserved rest. Ah, yes. That was so nice. Now, let's get back to the video. Now, with all of these techniques shown, wouldn't it be nice to see what a beginner would look like trying these techniques out for the very first time? Well, I'm gonna take David in this case, my brother, and gonna challenge him to draw a Giga Chad face with these techniques that I've just shown you. And at the end of this video, you will be able to see the final results and judge him with a score from 1 to 10 in the comments.
Oh my god!
Oh, David, I have a challenge for you.
What is it?
Do you know what a Giga Chad looks like?
Oh, yes.
Well, you're in luck because you're gonna be able to draw this Giga Chad with the pencil techniques that I've just shown you!
That's exactly what I want to do right now.
Of course, it's not like you're working on something very important.
No, not at all. So, okay, yes, what?
You have the tools, you know the techniques, please do the best you can.
I'll try my best, yes. I'm a master, I am an artist. Just not in drawing.
Now there's one more tip about shading that I'd like to share with you. Now it has to do with regular cross-hatching, for instance, that we're doing. You'll notice the texture of the pencil is still visible here, but you might have been familiar either at the beginning stages of your art journey or during school when you were bored out of your mind, you would try and smooth this out with a finger and doing this, messing up your attempt at smoothing out the gradient. Now, you can see this is not a desired effect that you want, so instead you can use this magical pepper stick. Wow! It is a specifically designed tool for exactly the purpose that you want to achieve with your finger. Only in this case, if we do the same gradient again, all right, and now we start smoothing out this hatching, you'll notice it is a lot more contained. The sides aren't really crossing over in terms of your smudging, and you're not losing the value of your pencil hardness. And even the edges of this entire area turns out as a beautiful blob of particular smooth shading technique. Now, you can use this on any scale, on any type of drawing, so why not show you in the shape of an original character? Okay, so we have an outline of a face, and I just want to show you by first shading it with cross-hatching, regular kind, how this face can have a cast shadow in particular areas. And if you desire to have a smoother texture and you don't like necessarily the pencil texture shown in your drawings, again, you can take this tool and I'll show you in two different areas how the difference shows. Start smoothing out in the direction of your facial features so as to follow the anatomy, and cross-hatching also for a smoother effect, to, yet again, achieve a very unified volume. And you can imagine, you can add atop of this with your pencil, create more layers, more depth. This is how you would attain this effect more precisely using this paper stick as opposed to your greasy finger that you can't really control the precision with. You can even find these paper sticks in different shapes and sizes if you want to grow on a bigger scale or on in smaller scale. You can see how precise you can get with this, even with very clear and very tiny details. That is it for the traditional pencils. Now let's move on to the mechanical and lead holder pencils, and let me tell you the advantages that these two have compared to the traditional one. Oh yes, welcome to my world. Indeed, I am here with a drawing that was primarily made with these kinds of lead holders. Why, you may ask? Well, you can see this piece is called anima, the masculine side of the self, so you can see how dynamic and aggressive the range of the motion is within this figure. So for that reason, I wanted to have a weighty tool in my hands that would allow me to direct my movements, dramatically and aggressively enough to create these kinds of patterns all over. And the benefit of this from the comparison of the traditional pencil is that you don't have to whittle away little pieces of wood in order to expose the lead. You just press the button and you can increase the size of your lead to whatever size you want, depending on how much you wear it away. In terms of sharpening, real quick, I am holding a 5.2 millimeter thick lead holder and a 3 millimeter thick one. You can use these thicker boys on a regular pencil sharpening tool, or you can whittle away this with a knife as well. But for these thin ones, sometimes it's a little bit, awkward to try and use it on the regular pencil sharpener. So you can indeed use this particular kind of a sharpener that has specifically designed holes with different widths. So some are 2 millimeter ones, there are 3 millimeter ones, and 1 millimeter ones as well. And finally, the mechanical pencil. Oh wow. It is a bit of an upgrade compared to the traditional pencil and a lead holder due to the fact how thin the lead tip is, allowing you to maintain the same line thickness all throughout your drawing process if you're working on a pattern or contour drawing. Also, a neat thing is that you don't have to sharpen it at all, so it saves you a lot of time. And you can see from the examples that I'm showing you right now that this mechanical pencil allows me to work on highly detailed and super precise drawings on a small scale. Now, usually you wouldn't shade your drawings with a thin lead tip such as this, but I do. For the majority part of our shorts that we make on our channel and other projects, this is the kind of pencil that I use because I like the meticulousness, and due to that fact, I have developed a set of special, you could call them shading techniques that have to do specifically with a mechanical pencil, which I would like to show you right now. Now let me just quickly draw a cute little wizard apprentice framework, and here, take a look at this hatching that I'm doing. You can see the hatching all too well, but if you tilt your mechanical pencil, you can whittle away the tip to a point where you can hatch with smoother lines, creating an almost textureless gradient. So, keeping that in mind, you can choose to smoothly shade certain areas of your drawing that you like, such as this wizard's face, for instance, and move on to clear and visible hatching over to the hat. You could even use an alternative shading pattern that I like to call a squiggle hatching by simply moving your pencil with chaotic pattern that can add an additional layer of depth to your drawings. So, you can imagine the possibilities are endless in terms of patterns, different styles of hatching techniques that you could use to attain a unique style of drawing with this tool. However, there's a small drawback. Unlike with a traditional pencil, these mechanical ones have a very brittle tip that breaks easily when you apply too much pressure on them. So for more dynamic and expressive drawings where you would like to apply more pressure, I would recommend using a traditional pencil like this. How's it going, David?
It's going pretty well, actually. I might not doing. Maybe I'm not doing the original GigaChat, but I am doing something similar of it. And as you have taught, I'm using the HB, the softest pencil.
Yes,
to,
indeed.
Not mess up the drawing in the beginning. So we'll see how it goes.
Oh, let me take a look real quick. Oh, yes.
It's only the beginning stages. It's only the beginning stages.
Yeah. No, it's good. It's good. I like it. And the fact that you're using the light pencil, it is indeed correctus erectus. Now, when it comes to pencils, you can make mistakes and use an eraser to correct them. However, if you want to be more bold, more brave, you can come to a point of no return. Because we're going to be dealing with ink pens. Oh my gosh. Now you can see all of these have their respective numbers. Oh, what do they mean? Well, let me show you. They simply indicate the line thickness of such fine liners, you see, going from small numbers to large and in charge ones. But apart from fine liners, you also have alternative ink pens with different tips, such as these. I want to show you and demonstrate to you how you can utilize them in different kinds of ways, in different kinds of drawings. So let's take a look. Here I have 3 identical blueprints of a face, and starting with a brush tip, you can see here, I have a wide range of line thickness that I can control by how much pressure I apply to the brush while outlining these shapes. It's quite tricky, but very intuitive and fun to play with. This kind of ink pen is also used often in manga or comic book drawings, when using stark shading with a stylized manner. Now with this marker-like pen tip, you still get a decent range of line control, only now it's a lot more narrow compared to the brush. So your line control becomes less tedious, allowing you a bit more freedom in terms of making involuntary mistakes when outlining contours. Which leads me to the fine liner, a trusty and sturdy ink pen with a stiff end which helps you to maintain uniform line thickness all throughout your drawing. So if you want to draw highly stylized drawings with line work that maintains the same graphic quality all throughout your process, this would be your instrument of choice. And voila! Look at the differences between these 3, from controlled and steady to more and more expressive and dynamic style of drawing. Oh wow! Now, this is all well and good in terms of contouring, and you yourself might be also starting with contouring, especially if you're drawing from a reference of a cartoon, but what about shading with fine liners? Oh well, let me tell you. I myself actually stumbled upon that throughout my years of experience, and at first I didn't even think it could be possible to draw with such a thin fine liner that only leaves marks with ink, but I discovered over the years certain techniques of hatching, cross-hatching, dotted way of shading, and squiggly line shading that I would like to show you right now. Using these handsome boys, my goodness. And using all of these 6 pre-drawn Jado cards, with the last one being special, I will show you these different ways of shading, starting with directional hatching, meaning the kind that roughly tries to follow the shape of your subject, further emphasizing the volumes according to its form. That is one way, but what if you don't want to keep in line with a single direction of hatching? Well, that's where cross-hatching comes in. And it's pretty self-explanatory. You do the same kind of hatching, only now you shift your directions around, crossing the previously shaded areas, building up your cross-hatching layers atop of one another to achieve a smooth-looking gradient with a more expressive manner. Now, we've been dealing with mostly straight but short lines being hatched away, so what about an alternative? Well, squiggling all over the place is a great one. Just like with a mechanical pencil, you can squiggle, squaggle, squibble, squabble, squoob to your heart's content, making some areas more dense with squiggles, creating yet again a convincing gradient but with an alternative technique. Alright, this is all well and good in terms of expressively shading stuff, but me personally, I like to sometimes shade things with a super smooth technique, just by dotting away little ink dots all over the place. And I don't know if you can tell, but this section is significantly sped up in the video, because unlike the other methods, this one takes the most amount of time and patience, because you need to manually plop each and single dot by hand with human speed, unlike an inkjet machine. This next one is similar to the first, only this time you manually widen the hatching in darker areas with the use of your fine liner. So let me show you first by drawing the initial long and uninterrupted hatching lines along the body and the hat, after which I go over these very lines and thicken them gradually towards the areas where there's the least amount of light. This is another stylized way to create a very controlled shading pattern, and you can choose the direction of these lines and even have them bent in whichever whichever way you want. And finally, let me take the last special one with a brush tip. Now you can do this with a fine liner as well, but you'll see I have an easier time covering these flatly shaded areas with a brush. And I'm saving time as well when with a fine liner it would take me quite a bit of time to fill in all of these graphically and dramatically shaded areas, you see? Now, apart from using these kinds of shading techniques, you can imagine using these techniques in and of themselves to create interesting artistic patterns for your drawings, to fill different kinds of parts of your background or entire pages. This is something that I actually stumbled upon by myself when I was experimenting with different styles and very fundamental methods of how you can manipulate lines and dots and spots. This is how you discover your own style, so I would encourage you to experiment with triangles, squares, ovals, all sorts of shapes within each other, combined and whatnot, to create an original effect for your drawings. And I know this may sound quite tedious and time-consuming, even if you're working on a small scale, but this must not discourage you, because look! You can work on large scales such as this to explore your artistic journey in a world of fascinating possibilities. Because look, the fine lining detail can affect the drawing in an interesting way texture-wise. And keep in mind, again, for your efficiency's sake, you can use thicker markers to fill in larger portions quicker, and to balance your working process and not to overwork on such a piece, because I think this took me about a month to work on and probably gonna take me a couple of more weeks to finish. But hey, that's what it takes to create art. Now, this is all well and good, but you might be saying, so this is a bit too hard. You know, it's easy for you to say, my line work isn't as stable and as clean as yours. What are you doing, man? Well, I'm trying to teach you something. And if you are indeed a little bit lacking in terms of stability, here, I'm gonna show you a couple of exercises that will definitely improve your line work stability over time. Grab your fine liner and start with straight line exercise with a special method that should be done fast, starting with a center dot, which you should try and hit every time you draw a straight line while shifting the direction. See the one in which you make mistakes and focus on those directions more to improve in that area. This is a quick and useful exercise all around, but you can also make it even harder by placing two dots and try and connect them with as straight a line as possible in different directions. Now, this helps you to develop better aim when you want to draw highly stylized and precise drawings. Make sure to do this in all directions and try to grapple with this exercise as often as you can. If you want to have very little to no wavering while drawing, you could also do long and directional hatching while keeping the lines as parallel as possible with equal distances between each one to enhance your eye-to-hand coordination. Also, you can do this with wavy and organic lines, like these arched hatchings, if you want to get better at drawing curved locks of hair. Or how about wave hatches to even further stabilize your line control? Additionally, you can also practice your ability to connect smooth lines, and what a better way to do so than with circles, drawing them as many times as necessary, or elongated ovals, which are in and of themselves quite hard to get right most of the time. You can also play around with pattern drawings that are angular in their nature, and also organic squiggly ones, as a means to decompress, while at the same time practicing your line work. So there you have it! A number of exercise methods you can take home with you and try out. Wow, what a great set of exercises for you to practice. But what about my brother? Well, it's not enough for him to just do the Giga Chad face in pencil. Let's make him do it in ink with all of these techniques! Oh! Well, hello, David.
Hi.
How's it going?
I'm done with this. Can't say that I'm very proud, but I think I did my best.
Yeah, well, the next stage is for you to use all of these. It's ink.
But how am I gonna shade with ink?
Oh my gosh, the techniques are there! I showed everything!
Oh yes, I just filmed them! Okay.
Alright, best of luck. I'm gonna check in on you maybe at some point, maybe not. We'll only see some parts. Hey, don't be...
Yes, we'll see how it goes.
Good, nice coordination. Listen, so far what I've shown you is only done in black and white, and you might be brimming with desire and excitement to learn how to use color in your drawings. However, you also might be struggling with blending it, understanding what is color, and overall being very stressed about it. Not to worry, because I will show you how to use color using these color markers, more specifically alcohol-based markers, and not only by using a large set of colors that have an intricate change in tonality, but also two very simple and radically different tones of markers. Oh wow, let's jump into it.
Here I want to use two different subjects to show you key things about marker shading on one side and blending techniques on the other. So as a start, let me draw a light outline of a tree and fill it in with these bad boys. And just to show you, this is the color palette that I'm working with for the crown of this leafy tree. And I first begin with filling the crown's silhouette with the lightest color to jot down the lit areas of the tree. And then I go over those areas with the next marker that's a shade darker. And I do this with the rest of the markers going step by step into darker and darker areas, making the process safer in terms of exploring the shapes with a mildly painterly manner in terms of these spotlight shadings that you see me do here. Okay, now that the ground is done, I can move on to the tree trunk and do the same thing with different color markers, filling in the overall area with the lightest tone first and layering the darker ones step by step, which guides me towards the best path of lighting. Once you're done, you might want to go a little deeper with your tree leaf shading, and this is to show you how meticulous you can be in terms of taking these steps deliberately, choosing the colors in advance, and layering them in a methodical manner to achieve a desired effect. Now, you can apply those same methods to any subject you like. For instance, another wizard boy. Now in this case, I want to show you how complex it can be to shade a human skin, or intricate colors of clothing articles. It may not look much, but take a look at just how many different markers I chose to use to achieve a smooth texture just on the skin areas. But let's not get carried away. I want to show you, using this blending marker, which is often labeled with the number 0, how well we can attain the same effect with only using two color markers for each individual area of this drawing. So what I do first is fill the area that I want to work on with the blending marker so that I can saturate it with its juices, which helps me to make smoother transitions between the two starkly different tones with additional blending. Because without that method, no matter how hard you try, if you first draw the two tones next to each other and try and blend them together with a blending marker just by drawing over, you will still notice the hard edge between the two, so keep that in mind. And also, this process forces you to be quick because these markers dry out on paper quite quickly. So you have to act fast and saturate the paper, draw in, then blend the two colors, saturate, draw, blend, and so on, to keep the paper moist enough for smoother blending. And my goodness, look at the number of the markers on this side compared to just the skin tones on the first one that amount to 10, while over on the right we have a full color blended drawing done with only 8 markers, not to include the blending one. Yes, Wowa, it is fascinating indeed.
It is time for my brother to try to do the same GigaChad face, only using color markers. Oh boy, how are you?
I think I'm okay. Yes. I'm not sure if this is what you've expected or the audience. But without any skills, it's looking questionable. Is there anything else I can do for you?
Of course there is, David. Now... Considering the fact that you've drawn a very specific Chad face, I think there's only one main color theme that you will be using.
Okay, yes, I do see it, yes.
You see it,
well, it's
indeed.
actually kind of exciting. I've been always curious to try these out, but I never actually done a drawing with these, so we'll see.
I think we're gonna have fun. Also, keep in mind, you need special gourmet papier for this.
Is this different from the other one?
Yes, because this does not bleed and it allows you for a smoother blending between different kinds of shades while using this 0-point marker. Because this is like a blending medium.
Oh, okay, I see. Yeah. Okay, we'll see you soon.
Yes.
And what's more, I want to leave you with another exercise to practice with, which is the sphere shading. which will require the blending marker for sure. And just try yourselves out with a number of colors and a number of different tones to get accustomed to the feel of the markers. You can make these spheres a lot smaller if you like, to try and experiment with blending cold and warm color areas by having them meet in the core shadow, and also using only 2 tones of the same color to practice your blending skills. You can do this as many times as you need to really get the hang of your markers and their unique behavior on paper.
Okay, great! Now you know how to blend and shade with your markers, but you might want to be learning and yearning for more depth and essence of color itself. So I would recommend you to check out a video such as this by Flow Studio detailing the intricacy of color theory itself in a very short and simple way. However, if you want to learn it the same way that I did in a lot more depth on an academic level, here I would like to introduce this book by Johannes Eaton called The Element of Color, where there's so much more detailed in there about color activation, hue and saturation, and more very detailed and high-level ways of how to manipulate color for your advantages and purposes as an artist. But why you stop here, baby?
Why not combine all of these tools together on paper to make a unique piece of art with mixed mannerisms, dynamic lighting, and an original style? Oh, whoa! Here, you can look at some of my past works of art that were done in a similar manner. If I can do it, so can you!
I am done.
Oh my goodness, please, David.
Yes, so we'll start by the pencil work. As I said, it's not amazing, but it's...
Don't sell yourself too short.
Yeah,
Let me
it
see.
took me some time. Ta-da!
Oh my god. Oh, whoa. Dang. That's pretty good.
Yes, it's our beautiful Squidward.
Oh my god, dude. What a great choice for Mr. Giga
Of course. As you might already expect, the rest of them are also all Squidward Giga Chads, but just in different spectrums.
That's
So-
very nice. That's right. I like the way that you've done the shading, like deep within the crevices and everything.
Yeah, I used like the 8B for the darkest parts to kind of accentuate the depth, all from your tips.
That's good. Good student. Good student.
And now we go on to the squiggling. I chose one of the easiest techniques that you've
Oh, yes,
shown.
for the ink.
Yes.
Let me see. Holy God. Brian, you're picking this up way too quickly, these skills.
I just took time and I contoured everything, and then from contours you kind of understand technically like where the shadows go. So, but now the most interesting, the alcohol marker reveal, and
my gosh.
that's interesting because I actually have never done drawings with alcohol markers.
You never worked with them, no?
No, especially blending like that. That was first for me. So
Nice.
this is a smaller scale, but here we go.
All right, let's take it to. Oh my God! Damn, them beautiful blue eyes. Oh my God, and it's actually really well blended too. And David, I can tell you, looking at this Giga Schlong, Giga Chad, there's so much confidence within the expression, within everything.
Thank you so much.
Nice.
I hope you guys enjoyed my reveal. So yeah.
Please comment which one of these you like the most, these 3 Giga Chads. Thank you for watching. I hope you had a wonderful time. And also, FlexiSpot is having a fall sale, and you can use my exclusive code C750 to get an extra $50 off on your C7 chair. FlexiSpot is also offering high-quality standing desks, recliners, and more. Click the link in the description to purchase. Okay, bye!